Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be giving you an update on all the products that I used in my April makeup playtime video. I've been testing and trying things these last couple of weeks and I finally have some more formulated opinions on everything. But before I get into things, I do just want to say thank you to all of you for taking the time out of your crazy busy days to come hang out with me and chat about makeup. If you're new in these parts, my name is Lauren. I hope you will consider subscribing, sticking around, coming back and hanging out with me again in the future. And yeah, on that note, I've got lots of things to tell you guys, so let's get into the makeup. So the very first product I want to talk about, I actually don't have anymore. I'll give you guys a quick second to guess which one it is. Yes, that is right. I did end up returning my Stila Happy Hour palette. Now, if you missed the original makeup playtime from last month, I will link it up here in the little eye for you guys. But I struggled super hard with that palette. It was doing some weird wonky things for me. First of all, I felt that the mattes were not buildable enough. I don't need mattes to always go on full pigment right when you first apply them to the eyes, but I like to be able to layer it up so that ultimately, if I want it to, I can get it to look like the same depth and richness as the color is in the pan. But unfortunately, the mattes in the Happy Hour palette were just so dusty, they were so pale. No matter what I did, no matter how much I tried to build it up, it never really intensified very much. Not to mention the fact that of the 4 matte shades, 3 of them looked basically kind of the same on the eyes when all was said and done. And the 4th shade was a dark charcoal, so that was really the only way I could add any depth and drama to the look, and then I kind of felt like all of my looks were one note, because I didn't really have any other matte color variety to like switch things up. Not to mention the fact that like charcoal can be a little bit harsh. I'm not a super huge fan of gray toned eyeshadows. That's just a personal preference thing. I would prefer a more neutral brown. Even if you're not going to go super warm, I feel like charcoal can just look a little bit harsh. So yeah, I really wasn't impressed with the matte formula in that palette on my skin tone. It wasn't doing anything for me. And considering that that's like a third of the palette right there, that was definitely a huge disappointment to me. Then there were a few shades with shimmer finishes and then some with glitter finishes. Now I will say that the glitter finishes swatch insanely. They swatch so beautifully. They have a super pigmented base and then they're infused with like silver micro glitter. And as far as impact goes on the eyes, the glitter shades are absolutely stunning. Like they do have a lot of impact. They do provide a lot of color. You don't need to necessarily layer them over another shadow. They're not just like a sheer topper. But what I found is that they had so much fallout. Even with a glitter primer underneath, I would have so much glitter underneath my under eyes, so many little flecks, not only by the time like I just finished doing my makeup, but then like throughout the rest of the day, it was just a glittery hot mess. And that really kind of annoyed me, especially knowing that I love glitter, I love sparkle, obviously, as you can see from my makeup today. And I have so many other products on hand that can also give me a shimmery, sparkly finish that don't have that much fallout. So I definitely knocked that palette down even a few more pegs for that reason. And then the regular like metallic-y, shimmery type finishes were not anything spectacular to me. Some were a little bit better than others. The aqua one that I used in the makeup playtime look that I created was not very impactful. I had to really build it up. I had to foil it, and even then it wasn't like really wham bam foiled and intense. So at the end of the day, for me, what it came down to was that I probably created, 5-6 looks with that palette, and I never was happy with a single one. Like I never used that palette and finished my eye makeup and sat down and was like, wow, that looks so beautiful. I'm so happy with it. It looks perfect. It looks well blended. Like there was always something off about it, whether it be the weird like water staining thing that I had going on that you guys saw in the video, or the mattes and the glitters just not transitioning well. Like this is the other thing. If you're trying to blend those glitter shades so you don't have harsh edges, you're just going to get sparkle everywhere. You 100% would need to do your eyes before you do any of the rest of your makeup if you want a chance to remove that glitter fallout, because as soon as you start blending those glitter shades, the little silver micro shimmers just go everywhere. And I personally have always just been someone that enjoys doing the rest of my makeup before I do my eyes because I like having my concealer done. I usually like to bring my concealer up on my lids to kind of cover up discoloration. So it's quite possible that for some people, maybe they could make this palette work. Maybe if you're a little bit more fair, the mattes would show up on you better. Maybe if you normally do your eyes first, you don't care about the fallout. And like I said, the glitter shades are beautiful. I love the colors of them, and they are really sparkly and gorgeous on the lids. It was just for me at the end of the day when I considered that it's a $52 palette, I didn't love the glitter shades in there enough to justify keeping it. So on a related side note, if you're wondering what is on my eyes today, it's the ColourPop Sweet Talk palette. I did finally cave and pick this guy up, and I am just about as in love with it as I expected that I would be. Now, obviously, this color story is completely the opposite of the Stila palette. This is very warm, pinky, and corally. That one is more cool toned with aquas and purples and grays. But this is an $18 palette. That is a $52 or $54 palette, and I think the quality of these shadows is like 10 times better. So I kind of see it as I essentially saved myself like $30 by returning that palette and getting this instead. I'm so happy with this. I love wearing it. I've created so many beautiful, beautiful looks with it that like I do not regret getting this at all. And ultimately, sometimes that's just how it goes with makeup. Each one of us has our own personal preferences. We have our own ways that we like doing our makeup. So not everything is going to work for everybody. Also, one last thing before I move on. I know there is one other limited edition palette that Stila released along with the Happy Hour palette. I believe it's called the After Hours palette. And it is different. The color story is different. I believe it has more mattes. And I think the reviews of that palette have been a little bit more positive. I think people have had more success with the mattes in that palette showing up. Obviously, I haven't tried it, so I cannot speak to how that palette performs, but I get the feeling that quality-wise, that one might be a little bit easier to work with. So yeah, ultimately, it's kind of up to you guys. It's your money, what you want to pick up. I personally would not recommend the Happy Hour palette just because of my experience with it, but I'd be curious to know. I know some of you guys do have it and you do like it, so definitely leave a comment down below. Let us know if you're enjoying that palette. How do you make it work for you? Because you may be able to help somebody else out. All right, so while we're still on the topic of eyes, let's move on to the primers that I used in the Makeup Playtime video. So first we have the MAC Paint Pot. I know I am seriously late to the party in picking this up. I mean, this product is an OG beauty blogger, makeup artist favorite. It's been around for years and years and years. I just didn't get around to trying it until a month ago. I have the shade Soft Ochre, which I feel like works really well with my skin tone. It's a little bit more yellow undertoned. I definitely am glad I went with this over Painterly. So as an eyeshadow base, honestly, I think I like my NARS Smudge Proof eyeshadow base better than this. I feel like something about this formula is a little bit drying. When I apply it to my eyelids, because I don't have particularly oily eyelids, the whole rest of my face is super oily, but my eye area is very normal. I feel like it does give a drier appearance to my lids. And maybe if I was 21, like, it wouldn't be a big deal, but I'm 31, so crepiness is a thing that I'm starting to notice on my eyelids. Like, they definitely don't have quite as much elasticity as they did when I was a little bit younger. Like, they're not super creepy by any means, but if I put a product on my eyelids that's particularly drying, I feel like I can notice those little wrinkles a little bit more, and I feel like my eyeshadow is a little bit less smooth going on. So I can't say that like I would reach for this over my NARS primer if you made me choose between the two of them. But I do appreciate that this has some color in the base, whereas the NARS one does not. So it definitely could cover up any kind of like veininess or discoloration on my lids. Now, I honestly usually go in with my residual concealer from my under eyes on my lids anyway, so I don't really need a pigmented base. But if, let's say, I was gonna do my eyes first, I think I would like using this base just because then my whole eye area is kind of evened out skin tone wise, and it's going to mesh better with the rest of my makeup once I go in and apply foundation and concealer. Weirdly enough, what I've found I actually really like this guy for is using it as like my little magic eraser. Because this is the same color as my skin tone, I can use a little brush and I can, for example, like clean up the edge of a wing and it basically will just blend right into my foundation. Or when I've had weird patchy situations going on in my crease, like I did in my Profusion tutorial or in the Makeup Playtime last month when the Stila palette was going a little crazy, I could just take this on a fluffier brush and almost like buff it right over the area, and it just kind of like magically erases the eyeshadow that I put there so I can go back in and re-blend over it. And this is where this product having a more dry texture to it is actually preferable to me. Because let's say I do want to clean up a wing. If I was using a very wet concealer, it's going to stay wet on the skin. You have to blend it out more, it moves around more, and it's definitely a little bit more difficult to work with. Because this is more dry and almost silicone-y in texture, it has like a little slip to it, but also a very matte finish. I feel like I can just kind of put it exactly where I want it to go, and I don't have to blend it out too much, or I can blend very lightly, and I don't have to worry about it moving around. I don't have to worry about it drying down. It's really, really handy for that purpose. So all in all, do I think this is like the be-all and end-all of eye primers? No, probably not. Again, ultimately, I think it's going to come down to personal preference. It's going to come down to skin type. It's going to come down to your eyes and how firm they are and how smooth they are. I definitely am going to keep this in my makeup drawer, again, for being able to touch up mistakes, and maybe occasionally if I am doing an eye look that might have a lot of glitter and a lot of fallout and I want to do my eyes first, this again is probably what I would reach for. But I can't say that it's like my new holy grail, or that it's made my eyeshadow go on more pigmented or be long wearing than the NARS primer that I already love. And then the other primer I've been trying is the NYX Glitter Primer. So this is basically like a dupe for the Too Faced glitter glue, but it is significantly less expensive. This is $6.50 and that one is like $20. And as far as like how adhesive this guy is, I mean, it is pretty comparable to the Too Faced. I can't say that I've noticed more fallout using this with my glittery shadows and loose glitters and whatnot than I have in the past when I used to have the Too Faced. Now, I have had a few weird eyeshadow mishaps in the last month that I'm not 100% sure of the origin of, but both times, like you guys saw it on camera, my Profusion tutorial and in Makeup Playtime last month, I had this weird, almost water stainy kind of situation happening. At both times, I did use this glitter primer, which makes me a little bit concerned that it did something funky to my eyeshadow. But then, like, of course, I used it today to adhere this ColourPop glitter to my lid and absolutely no problems. What I think, though, might be the issue that happened that time that didn't happen today when I was doing this makeup is that I think the dry down on this is a lot slower than the Too Faced. Like, this stays tacky a lot longer and you have to be a little bit more careful, because if you go in with a brush to try to blend any kind of mattes after you've used this and applied some kind of glitter or some kind of like metallic shadow on top, I think what happens is that the wetness from this primer might be doing funky things, so when you go in to blend, it kind of seeps and does weird stuff, or the eyeshadow might stick in weird places. Or at least that's my theory as per right now, because like the only reason why my eyeshadow would have done what it did in those looks is because there was moisture involved and the matte shadow got wet in some way and it created kind of like these weird dark patches. So am I going to continue to use this guy? Of course. I mean, I do think it works as far as being a glitter primer. Like, it definitely adheres shimmery, glittery things to your eyes and helps to minimize fallout. And I haven't had the weird water stain issue since that Profusion tutorial, so we'll see if it happens again. I'll keep you guys posted. I'll definitely have to keep experimenting and seeing if it really just has to do with going back in with mattes and blending after you use this product. And if that is the case, I might just have to be more deliberate about how I apply this. I've always gone in with my fingers, but maybe what I need to use is a brush so I can be much more precise with where exactly this is going. So yeah, long story short, if you don't want to shell out $20 for the Too Faced glitter glue, I would say this is not a bad product. And definitely if you've never tried a glitter primer, like, you need one in your life if you like to wear anything shimmery or anything metallic, because it definitely makes a huge difference. It allows so much more of the product to adhere to your eyes. It lets it be more intense, and it helps to minimize fallout. So 100% recommend having something like this, and this is definitely a great affordable option. All right, so this next product I'm kind of on the fence about, and that is the E.L.F. 16-Hour Camo Concealer. Now, back in Makeup Playtime, when I first demoed this on camera, I actually liked the way that it applied. I liked the way that it looked. This definitely is a Tarte Shape Tape-esque concealer. It's very, very pigmented. It spreads a lot on the skin when you blend it out. It's not super thick and emollient, but it's not really watery either. And it definitely dries down to a pretty matte finish. So the reason that I am so on the fence about this is that over the last month, I've been really paying much more attention to my under eyes, just because I've been trying so many concealers and powders lately and kind of seeing how they work in different combinations. And I think I'm just that much more cognizant of how dry and how crepey my under eyes have the potential to look. Like, I know I'm in my 30s now, and I definitely feel like I never really had to worry about fine lines, and now that I'm really looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, you are definitely there. So a product like this, because it is a little bit more on the dry side, definitely has the capacity to really make my under eyes look older, look creepier, look more wrinkly. Honestly though, what I'm discovering is that the powder you use is just as important, if not more so, than the concealer. Because I have oily skin, I have gravitated towards having mattifying powders in my collection. But if you pair a super mattifying powder with this guy in your under eyes, it's gonna look so dry and so cakey, it's not a good situation. So the more that I paid attention to this product with the setting powders that I have on hand, I do feel like it has a tendency to look quite dry in my under eye area. It's not as creasy as the L'Oreal concealer. That one just moved around a lot. I feel like they do have very similar formulas, but the L'Oreal is slightly more emollient, so it had the tendency to like slip, slide, and crease. And even if I did set it, I would notice that just either settled into the little fine lines of my under eyes, or it would have like giant cracks in the concealer, and it just looked really not good. This definitely stays put a lot better. It's very, very long wearing, and again, it's very, very full coverage, but I just think you have to be a little bit careful with how you set it. You want to go in very light with your powder, and you don't want to use anything super mattifying, because if you go in with a powder that's dry at all, it's gonna look like the Sahara Desert under there. So do I think this is terrible? No, not at all, and for the price, I mean, it's $5. If you're looking for a very full coverage concealer and you don't want to shell out $27 for Tarte Shape Tape, I think this is a great alternative. I think if you have very dry, flaky under eyes, this may not be the best bet for you because it is a more drying matte formula. I could imagine it would enhance the look of texture in that area. But if your eyelids are oily, your under eyes are oily, this may be right up your alley because it definitely is gonna dry down quite matte. And then we move on to the face powders, both of which I am kind of totally in love with. So first I have the E.L.F. Primer Infused Blush. This is in the shade Always Rosy. It's the blush that I'm wearing right now, and this is beautiful. It's such a nice color. It's a very dusty kind of mauve-y rose tone that I think would be flattering on so many people. It's pretty pigmented, but not so pigmented that I find it difficult to work with. Like, if you're very fair, I would probably make sure you go in with like a duo fiber brush or something very light, because it is going to show up pretty intense on your cheeks. But if you had a deeper skin tone, if you were more tan, you could definitely layer this up, and I think it's going to show up on your skin no problem. I don't really know so much about it being primer infused. I mean, it definitely wears nicely. I don't think it fades particularly quickly, and the formula is very smooth. It blends out really nicely. It's not patchy, so like, this all in all has been a total pleasure to apply, to have in my collection. I've been really enjoying wearing it, and it is $6, which you can't beat. The compact is huge. I feel like it would last a really long time. So if you're in the market for a nice kind of rosy neutral blush, this one's a good one. And then this guy, this might be my new favorite highlighter. This is the Lorac Light Source Mega Beam Highlighter in the shade Gilded Lily. and it is just everything I hoped it would be and more. So this is the highlight that I'm wearing today, and it is so glowy and so blinding and so beautiful, but it doesn't ever look harsh or metallic on the skin. It just kind of like blends seamlessly into your makeup, and the color is just so beautiful. I love things that have a little bit more of a yellow gold undertone to them because I have more yellow undertones to my skin. And this I would describe as almost like a golden peach. Like, it has a little bit of a peachy pink shift to it, but it's not an icy pink. So many pink highlights to me, I feel like go too icy, go too blue. This is a more peachy gold, just gorgeousness, and I feel like it looks perfect on my skin tone, and it just gives the most beautiful wet looking sheen. It doesn't fade. It is perfection. It is such a beautiful formula, such a beautiful color. I basically could wear this and nothing else if I let myself. And then finally, the last product from Makeup Playtime last month is the Dose of Colors lip gloss in the shade On Repeat. Again, I'm wearing this guy for you today so you could see it one more time. And this is a really, really nice lip gloss. It imparts a decent amount of pigmentation. It smells really good. It tastes really good. It's not sticky. It's not gloopy at all. It feels very, very creamy and moisturizing on the lips. The only downside I would say is that it's definitely not very long wearing. Like, because it's so moisturizing, it's the kind of formula that your lips will absorb fairly quickly. Fortunately, it's like a breeze to reapply. I mean, especially this shade is just like a really gorgeous nude, so you don't even really need a mirror. You can just kind of slap it on and it's just takes 2 seconds to touch it up. So I have been thoroughly enjoying wearing this product, enjoying this shade. I think it's a really beautiful nude. It's a little bit light for my personal tastes on me, but I feel like this is the kind of color so many people would be obsessed with. I like that it's not too cool and gray for a nude, but it's also not too pink. Like, it's definitely a true nude with a slight kind of warm peachiness to it, and I think it would go with so many different makeup looks. So yeah, if you are looking for a new gloss, you want to splurge a little bit, I think these are like $17, $18, somewhere in that price range. The formula really is beautiful, buttery, luxurious. Totally digging it. Alright guys, so that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed hearing all my thoughts on all these products. Definitely leave a comment down below and let me know if you've tried any of these things, if you like them, if you don't like them, if you have any tips and tricks for how we can use them. You guys are always so positive and so helpful, so thank you in advance for all of your feedback. And if you enjoyed this series on my channel, you're in luck because tomorrow's video is going to be my May Makeup Playtime, so I'll be testing out a whole new round of products for you guys on camera and sharing my initial impressions. On that note, I think that is all from me today, but thank you guys again for all of your wonderful support and love and for watching my videos and for hanging out with me. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.